No, I can. No, I can't record and transcribe.
It's all good. I got it.
Yeah, okay, great, cool.
Thank you.
All right. I think we'll just get a start at the moment. Apologies about the camera. Tried everything, but of course it's not working. Curtin University, blame them. All right. So I will open the meeting at 5:34 p.m. So the Curtin Student Guild pays our respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members of our community by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which the Bentley campus is located, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and on our Kalgoorlie campus, the Wongootha people of the northeastern goldfields. We acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this university, city, and this region. So members present, we have Dylan Noor, Hadia, Tani, Morgan, Max, Finn, Joanna, Vivi, Bridget, Emily, myself, Ebony, Suhaila, and Isabel. Now, apologies, we have Hamida. Now, I would just like to say on that according to Regulation 8 of the Student Council Regulations states that in the event that a member of the Guild Council was unable to attend any scheduled meeting, the member must either provide a written apology to the chair, which they have done, but under Standing Order 11.1, it does say that it shall be incumbent on any member attending any meeting to seek to do and give effect to the following, which is A, ensure that the business of the meeting is attended to efficiently and without delay. Usually by convention, we say that you should give an apology within 24 hours. I'm not going to say that Hamida is absent in this case, but what I will do is I'll just say, hey, it's a warning, so just don't do it again, and I'll send that email out as well. Okay, and I believe that's in line with the standing orders and the governance there, as what I've just said. Okay, so we'll now move to item 3, which is disclosure of any potential or perceived conflicts of interest. Are there any potential or perceived conflicts of interest? No. All right. We'll now go to item 4, minutes of the previous meeting and circular resolutions. So we have a motion that the Guild Council approves the minutes of the previous meetings held on the 26th of February as a true and accurate record of proceedings at those meetings. Moved by Noor. Can I get a seconder? Thank you, Tani. All right. Noor, I'm assuming as mover,
Yeah.
you don't wish. Yep. Go for it.
Only thing is it doesn't note that Suhaila was present and she was. So just need to fix that.
Yep. Okay, cool. Can do that. And Tani, did you want to speak as seconder? No. Any other comments? No. Okay. All those in favour? All those against? And that motion's carried. I think it might be. Actually, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll just move on. That's group. Moving to item 5, reports and KPIs. So 5.1, the President's report. Dylan, your report was submitted. Would you like to speak to it?
Indeed. Thank you, Chair, for the incredible opening of this meeting. There's a few things to update Council on, most pertinent at the moment, which came through this afternoon, is regarding the current industrial dispute occurring here at Curtin between the staff union, the NTEU, and Curtin University. They're in the process of bargaining at the moment. There was a members meeting that occurred last week outside, just sort of down the stairs from here, which happened during the middle of one of their bargaining meetings. At that meeting, members voted to approve strike action for a maximum of 24 hours at a time, and for that to be a maximum of one strike action per week. A notice has been received that will be starting the first day of a full strike for members of the union, will be occurring on Monday, this coming Monday. What we're going to be doing going into tomorrow is looking at what kind of impact that will have on students and what kind of appropriate levels of communication we'll need to be putting through on that front. So yeah, that's something that is happening at the moment. Only union members can participate in the strike. And of that, not every union member will participate in the strike, is what my understanding is, mainly because if you go on strike, you don't get paid. So there is a decision, and a tricky decision, that a lot of union members will be making at the moment around their priorities as well, which is just a statement of fact going into this process. The Guild's official position is supporting the NTEU's bargaining position with the university, and we've done so in a number of ways and will continue to do so. I wasn't informed in advance of this strike action on this day, which is a little bit disappointing. So I'll be following up with the union tomorrow to make sure that that happens moving forward so that we can coordinate appropriate communications out to students, which I'm sure the university will be doing as well. I've also received an update on a better note that Food for Fines, the first round this year, will be kicking off next month. So that'll be through the month of April. Once again, we are being graced with the incredible privilege of getting half of the donations for the Guild's food pantry, which will be good. It's not 100%, but it's halfway. So that will be continuing on in the world of the sort of parking campaign, and one of the wins we got last year regarding the expansion of Food for Fines from being 2 times a year to 4. And by all accounts, it appears that the Curtin Link service is being used well. So I'd recommend if you do live nearby to make use of Curtin Link and not to use car parks for people that need them. If you live in that zone, it is a good free way to get to campus. But yeah, we'll keep pushing on that front. But it is being used well, at least from what I've heard. It appears like the previous sort of cabs bus service may have got 100 and something people using it per week, but this is getting a good couple of hundred per day from the start. So seems to be a success. Any feedback that you're hearing from students, I'd love to hear, and would love to hear so we can give it back to properties. I imagine that there won't be enough buses. The waiting time might be a little bit long. There's all those kinds of things that if it's a successful service, we'll need to advocate to expand. Not included in the written report, but has happened sort of is updates around the housing campaign and where we're up to. Late last week, we met as an entire coalition with Make Renting Fair WA. So that included myself, Connie, our science and engineering representative attended from the Guild. There was different social services organisations present, unions present as well. I had a conversation around the priorities moving ahead. My apologies. I need a water or something, but I don't have one. Out of that, essentially Make Renting Fair is going to be engaging much more closely this year with stakeholders, which includes us as a member of that coalition, which I think is welcomed, and will be sort of laying the groundwork for what we hope to be the inclusion of students in Residential Tenancy Act protections moving forward, along with borders and lodges outside of student accommodation. I know a lot of students, particularly around these areas, around campuses, around the Bentley area, live in these kinds of shared accommodation. They're considered borders and lodges. They're not currently governed under the Residential Tenancy Act, so there's a lot of provision for including some rights for those tenants moving forward, which would be a great win for students. It's the reason why the Guild joined Make Renting Fair WA back in 2023. And it is to put that on the agenda. So it's important, and that still remains one of the priorities of Make Renting Fair WA. In terms of our on-the-ground campaign here on campus, what we're doing is collating the preliminary results of the survey that we ran last year, producing a report. I've got the first draft here. Bring a little prop in, a nice little concise report which lays out some of the really key problems, not all, but some of the really key problems and solutions to that, which will come to the next meeting of the Guild's Representation Board for approval as adoption of Guild policy. And then we'll be moving on from there in terms of advocacy points to keep pushing that forward. There'll be 4 sort of key areas and findings, which is that student housing is structurally unaffordable, that much of Curtin housing is unbearably hot in the summer, that many students feel unsafe in Curtin housing, and that Curtin housing is governed against students. It includes a scorecard of the different accommodations around the Bentley campus. It includes solutions there as well, which we'll advocate for. And those are 4 sort of quite simple, easy to grasp problems that have very easy solutions that just take a little bit of will and money to put behind it and to push forward as well. So that will be launched over the coming month. And then we're hoping to get some nice media attention around that and to link that in with the broader campaigning around Make Renting Fair WA, including Anglicare's, I believe it's Anglicare's report, which will be coming out soon around sweltering cities and heat in cities as well, which will be something that we can pull from and leverage moving forward. I'll provide you with a little bit of an update on where we're up to in terms of providing support and advocacy support for students impacted by the war in the Middle East at the moment. This has taken up quite a chunk of my time and many representatives over the last few weeks. We've prepared a sort of letter that's gone to the Vice-Chancellor outlining these sort of points that we think the university can pursue. And then I've got a meeting with her tomorrow to discuss that and what will be going ahead, and they're giving these points consideration. One of the points is around extending the effective census date for impacted students to the 1st of May, which would align it with the final date a student may withdraw from eStudent. Additional flexibility around international tuition fee deadlines, clear communications around academic flexibility and extension pathways, including the ability for international students to get access to refunds and remissions if needed, hardship support grants for those impacted, and also consideration that needs to be provided to students who may not be able to pay for the tuition as a result of the war, are here in Australia and need support and guidance around things like visas as well, and those sort of really tricky decisions that some students may need to make at the moment. We have some cases as well going through and students reaching out to Student Assist in this. So I expect, unfortunately, that will continue to see an increase in students coming to the Guild for that kind of support. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can get out of the conversation tomorrow with the Vice-Chancellor. There is also one other thing, which is around for new councillors. You wouldn't have attended an operations committee meeting yet, and you never will, because we're getting rid of it and replacing it with two new committees. The Operations Committee is a subcommittee of the executive. All Guild councillors were standing invites to that committee. It essentially was aligned with the Guild's previous organisational structure, where there was the managers of each of the areas, and we would sort of get a round robin report from people. And it was an opportunity for Guild councillors to offer feedback into different areas of the Guild. We're going to split that off into two different committees because there's quite a lot of ground to cover. There won't be any additional meetings. They were previously monthly meetings, but now they'll be bi-monthly in each committee, so there'll be one meeting each month. And there will be, essentially, that will be for the student services portfolio and the corporate services portfolio. So there'll be some small changes to that. We've got a draft constitution ready to go, and I'll send that out hopefully tomorrow for feedback to council and to everyone that will be impacted by that. But I think it'll lead to a better discussion and actually lead to more productive conversations here at the Guild moving forward. The only other thing I sort of really wanted to touch on in terms of operational updates is the work, and I'm sure Vernon's got more to cover in his report around the sort of our precinct plan and bringing our precinct back to life, and putting a bit of money and resources in behind bringing our presence on campus up to scratch and providing those services. There's been some unfortunate delays in the equity space and downstairs sort of student assist consulting room project that's being worked through, but they are still, that's now on track, I believe, to be in place relatively soon. Relatively soon in terms of getting works done, and construction is obviously how long's a piece of string, but we're confident that that will proceed. And then we're also working on getting designers in for the GC Central refurbishment and the tavern refurbishment as well. And then following that, there'll be some opportunity for revision and some ideas and consultation, particularly with this group, but also students more broadly. And I'm really excited to get students excited and the campus excited about this. So keen to hear people's ideas and thoughts on that. The only other thing, I know I've said that 2 times now already, is, and worth noting here at council, is that very long time employee of the Guild and Marianne Shattuck, who has been in many of these council meetings over the years, was our manager of student engagement and was deputy managing director for a long period of time as well. She stepped down from her role and is retiring. But yeah, I just wanted to express, as someone who's had weekly meetings with Marianne now for the entirety of my term, and I know many Guild presidents before me, the knowledge, support, and deep commitment to students and the Guild is something that will be very missed. And I just want to thank, hopefully on behalf of this council, express our well wishes and thanks to Marianne for many, many years of service to the Guild and to students. This is the kind of role where us as elected officers get a lot of credit for the work that happens at the Guild. But there is a team behind us that stand there and provide support, and the work that we do as a Guild couldn't happen without them. So I just wanted to sort of have that opportunity to thank Marianne for all of her efforts over the years and for all of the many Guild wins that she's had her fingerprints on, and her expertise and knowledge has enabled us to win and push forward. And it will be missed. But a lot of the work, even on something like a campaign around mergers, a lot of my conversations this year has been with Marianne around that, and that's a basis of work that is going to have longer ramifications and output, and is sort of setting up that campaign for success as well. So I just want to say thank you from my position to Marianne, and I'll leave it at that. Happy to take questions. Sorry for the lengthy, rambly speech.
That's okay, Dylan. Yeah, thank you so much, Dylan. I think, yeah, we'd all like to wish Marianne the very best, and thank her for all she's done. That was very well put. Has anyone got any questions about Dylan's report? Go for it, Tony.
Do we have any indication to when the other Food for Fines months may be? I know that's a very open-ended question, but just any indication?
My sneaking suspicion is that they will be, much like how April's dramatically coincides with 2 tuition-free weeks, big job win, they will magically coincide with periods of time that students are not on campus. So that will be part of my conversation with parking and properties soon. The Guild's position is that food for fines should be year-round. It should just be a year-round thing that's here on campus. So we're going to continue to push for that. Properties didn't want to expand it to 4 times a year last year, and I did a lot of lobbying around this to get it expanded to just 4 times, and that they pushed back dramatically. But there was a group put together that was called the Parking Insights Forum, fake group. It didn't really exist, but I managed to call everyone and email everyone and get everyone to agree that we should at least expand it to 4 times a year. So it's a good win. But yeah, I feel like it will happen during semester break, and then it will happen during around a tuition-free week mid-sem next year, and then mid-sem next semester. But I'll get that clarification when I meet with them soon. I got that email today. So, yeah.
And I did just have one question about the NTU strike. I remember getting some communication early in the year that all members were instructed to go on strike or something similar, because there was a lot of talk about classes potentially being cancelled. Just because I'm not really on top of it. What is the difference between what was said and decided then versus what's decided now?
Yeah, it's a good question. The difference was what happened wasn't technically a strike. The union voted to work from home, and then the university responded by saying that they weren't going to pay. So then in exchange, the staff said, well, I'm not going to teach if I'm not getting paid. So we're going to offer the classes online essentially. So that was the difference then. And that was more of a rolling thing. They were going to do some classes on different days. The big difference now is that all union members will, in theory, go on strike for an entire 24 hours, no online, not in person, not on campus, and go from there. So it'll be sort of the most amount of disruption that can be caused essentially. And that's the tactic behind it.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks. Any more questions? Yeah, go for it.
Just about the housing campaign, and I just want to know if there's any update because last time we mentioned there's lots of parking lots closed down around Twin Dolphin area, and we were discussing about if there's any permit we can go to the resident there, and I just want to know, will that be one of the focus part for housing campaign or not? Yeah.
From what we've got at the moment in this draft form, it certainly forms as part of hidden fees on campus. So you've got your rent you pay, but then there's a bunch of other fees. If you've got a car, you need to pay to park it and all that. Those add up and they make your weekly rent actually in practice far more than what's even advertised at the moment. In terms of a focused push around that, I think that would probably sit nicer and more neatly in with our parking campaign, which Hadia's going to be leading. But yeah, it'll certainly form part. It'll work across both of those areas. It's very tricky at the moment with the hockey stadium construction happening in general. I think there are some people in the university that think that with the overflow bays being opened up down there, that's fine. We've solved it now. It's really not the case. So I'll be using my platform at next academic board next week to sort of, and working with Hadia to sort of poke some holes in that argument and highlight that actually that fills up in half an hour. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And I'm really interested in figuring out, particularly for students that need to have a car and they live on campus, what impact not having that car would have on your ability to get a job and those kinds of things and your well-being. And then also for the students that live off campus coming on, not being able to find a car park has on their education, their results, all of that kind of stuff. That's really complex work to put together. But it's something where maybe we can pick one of those areas and delve into it a little bit more to kind of push back against this idea that building more car parking isn't economically feasible. Because I feel like if we look at it a whole picture, it probably is, because there would be a lot of students at the moment that are just not coming in and missing their classes, which probably means they, you know, on average, if you miss your classes, you might not complete your degree. So Curtin has an interest in making sure people can get to campus. So there's lots of different avenues to approach it from.
Thank you, Dylan. Any other further comments or queries on Dylan's report? Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, like, the Curtin link. It has been, I've personally used it and it has been very helpful. And my friends, they've also like we've talked from like several friends and students, and it has been helpful for them as well, especially during this like extreme hot weather. So like, yeah, this is definitely something very useful for the students right now. Okay.
Got it. Okay. So I used Kernel Link as well, and I had a chat with the drivers, a couple of them, and most of them have had a negative experience. Like they kind of ranting to me. They reported that like the system would take them on inconvenient paths and sometimes random areas, and they said it was a waste of fuel, waste of time, and they mentioned how the service is not fully run by Kern, another company, and they think there's a lot of logistical issues. And then because of that, two of them mentioned that some people don't show up for their shift. So then that also impacts the well-being of the drivers having to come in on short notice. So I think for the feedback around Kern Link, you should also consider the drivers as much as the students.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We'd be keen to talk further about that. It's a really interesting perspective.
Any further comments, questions about Dylan's report? No? Okay, great. We'll move on to Vice President Education. Oh, yeah, sorry, Vivi, yeah. Oh, Isabel's good. Yeah, that's all good. Hadia, your report was submitted. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah. Just a couple things to speak on that weren't mentioned. Some of my campaigns, the first year reps, they've been contacted and hopefully setting our first meeting to meet with all of them. I've decided to change it up a bit and have more than just one representative. So just figuring out when everyone can meet is going to be challenging at first, but I think it'll really pay off in the future. And parking, big conversation. I've contacted and I'm in kind of like I was following up with the chief operating officer regarding the overflow parking, because there was mention of how, well, first of all, it's yellow right now, and also it's not very accessible for when you drive through. So currently following up on that, the traction isn't as quick as I'd love it to be, but it's Curtin. So, but with that being said, I think that the situation has enough students upset and tired with parking that, like, with the right direction and right initiative, I think we could get a lot of traction, especially from the uni and the government. Another thing I'd like to add is unions. Thank you to Tani and all the reps that through the union fair. I look forward to having more events and having more of a union presence on campus. And placements, and I think I will also mention we're definitely moving forward with the placement campaign, working very closely with representatives like Zobia and Tom and Rama. Just a shout out to Rama, who is the NUS State Branch President. He has been working really hard and setting up a lot of meetings to meet with a lot of people to ensure that the campaign isn't forgotten and the issues, and just reminding people that the issues are very real and deserve change. That's everything, and happy to take questions.
Thank you, Hadia. Yep, Vivi.
Yeah. So I read your section of like the universal submission times, and then you mentioned how to be fair, it is in the trial phase, but like there's been a lot of units that aren't following it. What were the actual details of the trial phase? Because I got the assumption that it wasn't a compulsory policy. It wasn't it hasn't actually been implemented yet. So what are the details that are trying to encourage units to follow that?
Yeah. Oh, that might have been bad wording on my behalf. For this year, all units, and all academics have to follow universal submission time. So trial period was definitely a wrong wording on that part, but it's just an issue with them getting enough academics, or just like reminding them kind of that that's the policy they need to be followed. And to be fair, like when academics have been contacted, they've actually been quite like they've been quite like quick to be like, okay, sorry, my mistake, quick to change it, because a lot of them aren't used to it. But yeah, that's it.
I had a second one. You mentioned, I think it was under the like student success one, and like declining retention rates. Does that just refer to average student grades and passing rates?
I'm happy to yap at that, because it is like it is quite like a big issue that like it's a big thing that's brought up every time I do enter like the student success like meetings and things like that. There's a really big issue with students not like actually finishing and completing their courses. Like that's like, especially when you go to students who have like equity issues, like first in students who do part-time is a really huge gap, and like they fall through the gaps. And there's this huge issue that everyone's always talking about, that the services we have at Curtin can be great, but it's like they're only there for when students are actually feeling like they're going to fail, and they're not there to actually help students, so they don't get to the point that they fail. So that's what that work is mainly doing, making sure that there are like systems in place so students don't get to a point where they're like, oh, I feel like I'm going to fail, I feel like I'm going to give up, I'm going to have to drop to part-time. And when they drop to part-time, most of the time they end up dropping out. That's what the statistics are currently showing. So yeah, that's basically what the connection to that.
Yeah, that universal submission time really needs to be applied. I've got a, yeah, I know. I've got a 6 a.m. test. Outrageous. Yeah, fundamental strength of materials. Anyway, we'll move on. Calling him out. Huh? You're doing the same one? Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm going to love next week, Monday. Legendary. Thanks, mate. I won't say his name. That's all right. Anyway, we'll move on. Any other questions for Hadia? Yes, go for it, Ebony.
What sort of comms have gone out so far about the parking campaign to students?
Do you mean to students?
Yeah, like whether it's on the Instagram or emails or anything like that.
Yeah. So currently it's not really been taken to the students as of yet, but that is definitely something we're looking to do, and hopefully very, very soon. Yeah, that's actually all I can say on that. But hopefully creating a space where students can voice their concerns, and in a big enough manner that we can take it to uni. But yeah.
Can I follow up? I think something important for us to do, like planning wise, especially with semester 2 coming up as well, is that like we know that parking stress will be like worse at the start of semester. Maybe moving forward, could we like work at trying to like plan and figure out how to get like a more of a like a public campaign that is like student forward as well, when that like stress of parking is at its highest.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing with the parking and just with that campaign is like figuring out and like kind of, because there are so many issues with it, like kind of like writing down what is the main things that we want from it, if that makes sense to you. I mean, yeah, like there are all these ideas being thrown around, but at the end of the day, to actually like push for the campaign, we need to figure out what are the couple things that we really want to push for and ask. That makes sense. But yeah, great. I will take that on notice.
All right, great. Any other questions or queries on Hadia's report? No? Okay, we'll move on to the Vice President of Activities report. Tani, your report was submitted with consistent branding again, I might add. Would you like to speak to it?
I would love to speak to it. I'll speak a little bit through my report, because I do understand it was attached a little later. Great to see you all again. 3-week turnaround. So lovely to see Guild Council again. There's not much. These two. Anyway, in terms of events, since the last time I saw you guys, we had Careers Week. That was definitely a little bit of an experiment of mine, doing more of a, I want to say education-focused event opposed to something that is fun or giveaway-based. And that was really focused on what are the gaps, or what do students want to know before going into the workforce. So we had the LinkedIn workshop with headshots as well, the job interview, resume writing workshop, the unions fair on the Wednesday, immigration and visa advice on the Thursday, and first aid certificate training. It all went really well. All the vendors we got to, or people we partnered with to come in to run these workshops, were extremely happy and all want to come back on a more regular basis. We did have a much higher rate of sign-ups to attendance, but any free event you will have that, because people will see it, sign up, and then on the day realize they're probably a little bit busy. It's always a risk you take with a free event. But I wanted to keep all the events free. The only one that was not was the first aid cert training was $20. It's originally $140, and we got that down to $20. So really happy about that one. And that one sold out very, very quickly. So I was super happy. Took from especially Reps Board, who's done a big push to want to see more engagement with unions. Definitely a little bit of experiment on the Wednesday doing a unions fair. We had 4 unions come, and we had the students doing a small activity, which I kind of named the "been told to suck it up" activity, where it was a whiteboard where students could answer questions or put questions up they had about unions and get a little reusable straw giveaway. And I think it is really important that we engage with these unions, considering we are a union ourselves. As I've been largely in planning mode the last few weeks for our upcoming events, has been where a lot of my time has been. So coming up, we do have Barnyard Bash. I did hear and took on the feedback that you guys gave me last Guild Council, that including our underage or those who might not be 18 yet, those students. So this event will have a portion of the event where students under the age of 18 can attend, come be part, and it will be run sort of alongside the TAV. So I'm really excited for that one, and I do want you guys to know that I implement your feedback and I do take it to heart. The other one's coming up is World Week, everyone's favorite named event. I did put name TBC, but I really do fear that it will not be changing. So yes, what was previously Sustainability Week, we are now transitioning to World Week to have a bit of a welfare and cultural diversity with the aim of social cohesion. Big emphasis on that one across the Curtin campus this year as well. Also our first Category C event from the Reps, which is super exciting, which is Mia's Disability Collaboration Lunch. I'll be super pumped to see that one. Go ahead, still working on these. Again, I've put these in the planning section because they are all still very much in the planning phase. Other than that, the execs met with the DVCA portfolio of Curtin and got a little bit of an update on the National Higher Education Gender-Based Violence Code. It has been published, and their action plan has been published. It is available on their website. I've not had a chance to fully review these yet, but I was pleased to see that there was action steps for accommodation, which is something we highlighted in that public feedback when we gave it back to Curtin. A lot of it was things that are going to be done on a regular basis, and I am very keen for this guild to keep on the tail of them, that they are doing those regular updates, so they're doing those audits on those plans and these procedures, because it is important, and it's important that we are included in those conversations about gender-based violence, especially in some areas that they may not have noticed or missed. So I'm definitely keeping on the tail of that one. But yes, they are publicly available. Their action plan's been posted. So we'll be definitely chasing them up about that one. But yes, happy to take any and all questions.
Cool. Thank you, Tani. I would just like to apologise. I forgot to mention that Tom was an observer present, and also like to mention that Isabel left the meeting at 6 p.m. and that Tom left at 6:10 p.m. Okay, any questions or comments regarding Tani's report? No? Go for it, Ebony.
Just on the union fair, I think it went really well, and the unions I spoke to as well, they had quite a few people and students signing up for their like student related initiatives as well. So I think moving forward we should do a lot more stuff like that, because if we're hooking students up with their relevant union, that's really great.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, the whole Careers Week was a little bit of a trial run. So I'd love to see them done again, bigger, better, and with more hands in it. I know Hadia is particularly excited to do a union-related event possibly later in the year. But yes, it is something I feel this guild as a whole is very passionate about engaging with. So I was very excited to see that little experiment go so well.
Okay. Any other comments? Yep, sorry, go for it, dear.
I also just want to mention that I know people really love the first aid training. And even when Dylan and I did that, what's it called? At the beginning of the year, speaking to students in Curtin Stadium. Okay, well, survival guide. There are students who came out to us they thought the first aid training thing was really cool. So if it's like even feasible, maybe having it a couple more times, I think would be a really big hit. But overall, great job.
The question is like, well, the comment is similar to Hadia's. So like, I think the career week was like with all the LinkedIn and like headshots and like other events that are very relevant to the students. And like, I feel like a lot of students loved it, but the only problem was that there was like, I think a bit limited seats, but as you have mentioned, it's like a trial. So I believe like if we're doing it again, if there are multiple slots, as Hadia mentioned, like that would be helpful as well, even for like the LinkedIn workshop and the first aid one as well. Yeah. But overall, it's like really great. Thank you.
Yeah, and in our review and feedback from the week, it was also mentioned filming or streaming those workshops, because as well, people that may not be able to physically attend or may have a class that overlaps at that time. So that was noted down in our feedback, and we'll be very excited to see if that's something we can provide, and I really hope it is. But yes, we were aware it was limited, and I do want to expand it and see it done bigger and better.
Okay, any other questions for that report? No. Okay, great. We'll move on to Vice President Sustainability and Welfare's report. Morgan, your report was submitted. Would you like to speak to it?
I shall. Please bear with me. It would appear both coffees I had at 9 a.m. have hit me now. Would have been great if they hit me at 9:30, but sure. It's been an interesting 3 weeks. I guess I didn't really speak to my report last council because I was violently unwell, but you know, things happen. What have I got going on? As Dylan said, the housing campaign stuff's now in full swing in terms of the on-ground campaign stuff. A Tidy HQ has been set up, and that exists in order to help promote the campaign. Students are going to be able to sign up to it, to take part in whatever activities we're doing. It's also going to be used to promote like events like barbecues at the different accommodations and stuff. And so that's the housing campaign in a brief nutshell. What else we got? Oh, the food charter is my first draft is done and has been sent off for comments, feedback, changes, which I'm sure will come. So that is all good to go, and hopefully we'll make it here soon. Along with that, as part of the charter is also the Frozen Meals Initiative, which the meals got produced in sort of February time. Students from KNU, so Kawaga Nutrition University in Japan, they came to Curtin as part of just a general tour that they were doing with the university and the School of Population Health around our food security. They went to food bank, they went to the supermarkets, all that sort of stuff. They also came to visit our food pantry. And then, so myself, Andrew Cameron, and then Dr. Rebecca Russell, who is a professor in the goat, the very small goat, talk the students through the creation of the pantry, its operational components, and then also Rebecca spoke about the Frozen Meal Initiative as it was kind of her baby. I believe that's it. Oh, World Week. I'm very excited about World Week, especially the name. But so as Tani said, World Week was originally just meant to be Sustainability Week, but in light of everything that is happening on campus and around the world, we decided to make it Sustainability and Welfare, but with a name that I think is fun. And so I have hopes and dreams for it. There will be a fair day that's sort of got a bunch of activations on the Wednesday. Hopefully there will be a sort of night market on the Friday where there will be big fingers crossed. Where there will be a bunch of clubs coming along and they get to share their different cultures with different students. There'll be food, just like a big, very fun dinner, to be honest. But I think that is all from me. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, great. Any questions for Morgan on their report? Yep, Ebony and then Dylan. It was 0.1 of a second in there.
I won anyway. Joking. Sorry. So the housing campaign, the bit here that I read, it sounds interesting. Could you explain a bit more about that? And how would other guild councillors get involved with that campaign if they wanted to?
Well, I believe Councillor Phillips is on the admin group for the Tidy HQ, so he should already be doing stuff.
Which I have been. Thank you very much. I have been.
He co-wrote the terms of reference as well on the weekend.
Can that please be included in the minutes that I've distributed? Thank you very much.
So once the Tidy HQ has been properly set up through, there will be the opportunity for councillors to sign up and help sort of just like spread the word. I believe it's going to be officially launched for something for students to sign up to at one of those first few barbecues around the time that the report's also coming out. But I would say, yeah, the best way we'll set up like a sign up earlier for councillors to sort of sign on so that there are more people on it when other students join. Because if there's people there, people are going to want to join it, sort of thing. I'm really sorry. Could you repeat the first half of your question?
Oh, I think, could you explain like the broader idea of like the process between the reps and then another, like the system, the idea that was being talked about in the meeting that we had together? Maybe we might need to talk to Dylan, but I'm not sure.
No, I'm happy for Morgan to answer.
The three different groups, if you know what I'm talking about.
I feel like you know exactly what you're talking about and you're trying to...
I don't know how to explain it.
Oh, I don't either.
I feel like you know what you're talking about and you're relying on the fact that I don't remember anything, and please keep buffering while I load up the meeting minutes.
Yes, of course. It's a great plan. I think it's quite frankly I think it would be excellent for everyone to get as involved as possible. Silent.
I'll take that one on notice.
Okay. All right. I would like to say that it is very important for all the reps here and everyone who's listening to be a part of the housing campaign whenever they can. This is an incredibly important issue and it's very widespread, as I'm sure the report will lay out and as Dylan spoke about in his report. So please make sure. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, Tani, you wanted to.
Not listed in your report, but just because it's Morgan question time. Do you have any special things that may have been installed recently that you'd like to share with the group that you're very excited about?
Yes, I do, Tani. Yes, I do. So April last year, when I was a lowly queer officer, I started the process of getting a HIV self-test vending machine installed on campus for students to access. This was a very long and painful process that it shouldn't have been. But as of today, it is on the wall in the Club's Hub hallway. It has power and it is being stocked next week.
Yeah, well done. Dylan, you would like to ask Morgan a question, I believe.
Yes. Morgan, can you update this council on the works being done in the Guild courtyard?
Yes, the courtyard. The trees are thriving. I watered them today because they were looking a little sad. I have been doing my little plan. Benches are slowly being moved across. We moved across one bench and decided like picnic bench for more sort of communal talking seating because at the minute it's just a lot of really small tables. And where I had initially put it, it looked strange. So they've sort of been moved. The plan is to get more sort of low seating for the deck. And I have tentatively booked in for the end of May in study week for the large pots that the trees are in to be painted by a mural artist. She'll make a paint by numbers. Students can come along throughout the day and paint a section, and then that will get finished off by the artist, and then they'll look all nice and pretty instead of their kind of bland toothpaste blue that they look.
Okay, any other questions for Morgan? Their report? No. Okay, we'll move on to the Secretary's report. Noor, I'm not sure. I think Noor is feeling very unwell at the moment, so we might skip your report, Noor, unless you would like to speak to it at the moment. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. We'll skip it for now. At the moment, we'll come back to it. I do believe she has. Emily has left the meeting at 6:23 p.m. Okay, anyway. We'll now move on to the Managing Director's report. Vernon, your report was submitted. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, well, I'll start by saying I'm happy to take the report as read. I'll walk through some of the highlights and welcome any questions on notice at the end of it. Happy to report there's been a strong level of activity and strong engagement across all areas and student-facing areas as set out in the report. Key elements of the activities have been included in the relevant areas reports by the respective managers. In terms of the Guild Precinct plan, I'll provide an update as Dylan mentioned earlier. Whilst we had a hiccup in progressing from the level 2 of the admin offices onto the level 1, which are the equity spaces, we found a replacement designer and met with them and performed a handover from the designer that was previously identified as being conflicted. And so that will progress with the development of the final stage of plans, which are the demolition drawings for the club's HQ, and then progress to the application for approval by the uni. So we're still hoping to commence that in, the new equity spaces in April, but we'll keep you posted on that. The Guild Tavern and Central Cafe projects, the request for proposal closes tomorrow, and all 3 bidders have confirmed this week that they will be providing a proposal to us. There'll be a small panel assessing those responses and making a recommendation for appointment, which we will do under the delegated authority and report to the Finance and Risk Committee. Once a designer's appointed, they will provide their creative sketches, and that's when it will go to a consultative process for feedback and an iterative process of finalising and settling those designs. The process or the order of those projects will start with the Central Cafe. At this stage, the project plan aims to start construction on the refurbishment of the Central Cafe as a function space in the mid-semester break, and the project plan and conclude during that break. And then the project plan will move to the tavern, which looks to commence at the end of year break. So that's an update on those 2 projects. Just highlighting that we're continuing with the commercial strategic plan. You might have seen the menu changes coming around the place, and we've done just a review of all the capacity and the capability of the staff out in the outlets, kitchens, and we're working towards refining, training, and bringing them to a higher level than they were. But it's been great, and the staff there have been really cooperative and really appreciative of the investment of time, focus, and effort that the food and beverage head of our food and beverage area is providing. Tavern activations have also commenced this year with 3 quiz nights that have really highlighted some quiz talent that exists on campus. And also the Vibes Friday afternoons. I think they've just been so well received, and I've been to a couple of them, and I think they're great. So that's been really good, and that's a testament to Tani and Vanessa and the team down there that have really worked to bring some life back and pave the way in terms of quiz nights for now the clubs to come in and host theirs, and hopefully those outside of the clubs will continue to support that. And from the organisational review too, we've continued, and let me introduce the General Manager of Student Services, Moira Ainsley, who sits to the left of me. The intention is that both General Managers will attend council meeting that will be able to provide a level of detail and understanding to their respective areas deeper than I can provide, and also to highlight the work that they and their team are doing. And with respect to that, to the second General Manager, which is the General Manager Corporate Services, is also the recruitment process for that position is concluded, and pleased to advise that Natasha Morgan has been appointed and commences in a transitional capacity from Monday. And the General Manager Corporate Services will have responsibility for the finance, HR, governance and IT service portfolios of the business. Before wrapping up, I think just from a governance and safety, we're conducting a risk management framework review, which is a top to bottom review of how we consider, manage and manage risk at the Guild. So that's a big piece of work. And from the administration side, as set out in the agenda item later, the audit of the 2025 financial statements is concluded with great results from that. Before I close and open the floor to questions, I just wanted to reiterate Dylan's comments with respect to Marianne. We've had, whilst to clarify, Marianne is on annual leave currently, but is transitioning to concluding her time here with the Guild. And I wanted to reiterate Dylan's sentiments and add that my thanks and recognition on behalf of the management team for the important and the significant contribution that Marianne has made to the Guild over many years here. As I said, Marianne's on leave, and really the planning and support for the transition with this movement of Marianne's has been in place since January. So I thank her for all the support during her time and during my time here. Okay, I'll open the floor to questions.
I would just like to ask Vernon just about the pricing of the new tab menu. I noticed that there are some items, quite a few of them have got an increase in price from last semester, in particular, not by much, but the chicken palmy, which is obviously my favourite, increased from $19.80 to $20.25. What is sort of the process in mind? Is it sort of a percentage that you apply across the board to your pricing? Do you look at the particular ingredient, the cost of sale for that item increase and just pass that on, or what's the process involved with changing that pricing year to year?
Sure. The starting point is to try to establish, and we use benchmark data to try to establish a gross profit margin to ensure that we're financially sustainable and that activity is financially sustainable. We don't always achieve that because of the tension between providing affordable food. So what we do is we in a very detailed way determine the costs to produce that, and that's the raw material cost, not the overheads in terms of wages, electricity. It's the raw material costs, and we use that as a basis to find a price that will return a reasonable gross profit margin. That's the point. But where the CPI on food has been significant, and we've decided, whilst we've had to make increases to ensure continued viability, that we're absorbing some of that. So we're not necessarily, with these increases on a lot of the products, we're not keeping up with that margin that we had last year, but we found the improvement and the financial improvement in other areas of the tavern allow us to sustain that. So it's a holistic view. So when we look at the margins and the pricing, where we can, with a modest increase or without increasing, sustain those margins. We've tried not to move those prices where it's simply not because of the raw materials movements. That's how we've based our pricing.
Thank you. Any questions? Any other questions or comments for Bernard's report? Yeah, Ebony.
Just in terms of the TAV and the interactions with clubs, I've been involved with clubs for a long time, as you're aware. Generally, what's happened in the past and what is still happening currently is that we'll book like another room, whether it be in Clubs Hub or around the uni, and the clubs team gets back to us relatively quickly. What we're finding now is that if we're booking a location within the tavern, we don't hear back for a significant amount of time. And then what happened in my situation with the booking was actually clashed with one of the, I think, quiz nights, but we didn't hear back with like enough time to be able to effectively sort of turn around and choose a different date because we had guests and stuff involved as well. But I just wanted to see if there are any things happening at the moment to try and speed up that turnaround time, hearing back from the TAV.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Ebony. I am aware that there was some confusion with our new TAV manager on how the booking system works and what they assumed the clubs team were doing, but what they needed to be doing. Now I was aware of that maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I believe that there's now an understanding of that process, and so it should be streamlined. If that's what was causing the impact to your event, I'm not sure, but happy to look into that.
Yeah, no, if you looked at it since last like reporting period, then I think it should be fine now. But
Yep.
I just thought I'd raise it with you anyway.
No, thanks for that.
Okay. Yeah, Tani.
Not a question, but just while we are on the topic of clubs, I guess I just wanted to highlight from Bernard's report the increase in sort of club activity in general at the moment. This is my 5th year at this university, and I really do feel like we are in the baby boom of clubs right now, coming out of post-COVID. Just to highlight, the total club events for the month of February last year was 102, and this February has been 203. So just to put that in perspective, we are seeing a massive growth in that area, and it makes me extremely excited that the students, particularly, so much energy for the first years, and just a credit to all the amazing people who do pour their heart and souls into clubs. Running these events, of course, takes time, and volunteers who put their own time out there. Also, just to mention the club's marketing this year. If you've not been on that side of Instagram Reels, treat yourself. Shout out to some of my favorites making just incredible reels and content which are really engaging students, and it seems to be working. So yeah, just a shout out to, I guess, all my amazing clubs out there. Almost 120 clubs, I think, now. So.
And shout out to the work on Toga as well. Performed very well on Instagram. That's in the report as well. So just wanted to show credit to you. Yeah, Ebony?
Yeah, one of the top performing reels was an idea of Tani's and featured 2 members of exec as well, which was really cool.
Yeah, great. Shout out to Morgan. Okay, if there's no other... Oh, yeah, Finn, go for it.
So I just had a question regarding the vouchers for O-Day. I did see that because it was an event that had 11,000 people there, I was wondering why there was no, response or analysis of why the redemption rate was so low.
Yeah, that's an interesting one to us too, because I thought there'd be great take up of that, and it was really aimed at setting up a connection with students to visit and to have a reason to come back and try maybe it was the value is not seen as being significant enough to make that effort. And then also because it's such a tactile way of doing it, maybe accessing it, finding it again. But when I looked at that, when we considered that in our close down, I think it's still worth the initiative to bring and connect new students with our venues and our proposition. Might need to find an easier way, whether it be digital or otherwise, for them to access and retain the voucher or the opportunity. And make it more attractive, I guess. Yeah.
Is there a chance it could be the timing of it? I know it was like a 1 hour period. Maybe that might be it.
Yeah, I mean, it was set for the happy hour where most of the attendance is, but yeah, we can look at the timing of that as well. Yep. Thanks.
Thank
Vin.
you.
All right, if there's no other, yeah, Vivi.
Are you talking about the club vouchers? I can give like personal like anecdote to like find it. It took me a while to actually find where they were giving it out because I was under the impression initially that it would be in the bags that they were giving out. Is that?
I think they're talking about the commercial outlet vouchers, so the $5 off a pizza.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were giving those out at the commercial.
I guess. Actually, I'm not too sure if this is related to then, but the club voucher itself, they are a bit. I guess I think I think it's due to like how many people are around, and then especially that area. But it was quite hard to find. And then yeah, just talking to some other students, they had no idea where to find it as well. And then also, not too sure if there is like a post that kind of explains the areas of which stalls would be where. But if there is, maybe making it, I guess, a bit more prominent in the marketing, because I had a few students at like stalls or just walking around just asking where a certain stall was because they would loop around and they just couldn't find what they were looking for. Not too sure. That's probably irrelevant to the current item, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that did come up in our sort of closeout, especially the big sort of boom we saw this year. We've kind of run off having one club vouchers store, and we're just kind of seeing, and that was kind of mentioned in our feedback, that may not be adequate anymore, and we need to look at staffing potentially 2, if not 3 of those giveaway or club voucher booths, because it is important that students get them. You know, it makes accessing clubs and being a part of a club accessible. And as for your point on the map, we do release a event map that goes on the website. It was plastered around on the walls. It is, unfortunately, when you have, I think there was like almost 160 vendors trying to fit that many people on a map, it basically becomes zones, and then each zone has like 15 people. So really it's like you're given an area that a club or a vendor will be in. So we maybe do have to look at breaking those maps down even further into like individual zone maps, because looking at that map is very overwhelming. And even I knew where most of the clubs were meant to be, and I struggled to find them. So like, yes, all that feedback was noted in our closeout for that event.
Yeah, go for it, Philip.
Not too sure how good of a suggestion this would be, but maybe then you could have physical or maybe, I don't know, physical like maps, and then that could either be in the bags that they're getting, or maybe there's just somewhere people can grab it in case they missed those online announcements and stuff, and then actually have like a physical map to just see. And then that one could just have the zone areas, and then maybe you could just have the numbers and then the actual names could be at the back or something. So then it wouldn't be too cluttered, but they would still kind of get the general idea, especially for people who aren't familiar with the campus yet, like incoming first years and stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I've just written that one down. I think even some sort of like pamphlet holders and stuff at the entrances of those events where people can grab them could be really helpful. Because although, yeah, we can put it up digitally, but a lot of those students do just hear Ode, rock up and don't see those sort of communications. So I've written that one down.
Just another suggestion bumping off that, because I feel like that a lot of people came to Guildstall being like, where's this club? Maybe even just at the Guildstalls, maybe having like a really extensive list for like maybe the people at the Guildstall to help. I don't know, but then I also feel like people treat it like the Guildstalls are just info stalls. But then also maybe you can reel them in by like, oh, do you want to look for a stall? Wait, actually, do you want to hear about the Guild? So I don't know. But yeah.
I think another thing for FAC reps, maybe it's both a Hadia and a tiny thing, is like if we could have a list at our FAC rep stalls of where like the faculty based club stalls will be, because I think I got a few questions like, oh, like where's the FBL clubs? And I was like, I saw CSLS back that way, but I don't really know. So I think that might also be helpful for us as well if we could get a map, like maybe week out or whatever, just so we can be a bit more helpful to students.
I saw at the career fair there, so like when you were entering there, they handed out, or like no, there was a map of like the stall. Sorry. So like they had like a map in, I think there was an information table when you were entering there, and then the map had like the names of the companies of the stalls and like which part of the like room which companies are. I thought that was helpful. So like figuring out like, okay, I want to talk to this company, so maybe I would go to this. So maybe if we can have one of those like map sort of thing, as there's no specific entrance to like the Guild Ode thing, but like maybe like from one and maybe near the library or like maybe the Guild store, something map related to that. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I take all your feedback on as you see me scribbling it down here. And yes, it's something I'll be looking to improve for Ode too, but I will not overtake Vernon's report too much longer. So I went back to the chair, if not Vernon on this one. But do feel if you ever have any feedback for events, I'm always open to hearing it and I always jot it down.
I think Dylan is very, very enthusiastic about speaking.
Vernon, when will we be hiring a Guild cartographer to make all the maps? But no,
Can we stick to the
I am sticking. Thank you very much. Thank you. No, I did just want to ask you to just explain for the new councillors that didn't approve the change in our organisational structure last year, just where the GMs sit and how each of those sort of areas will work. I think it'll be just handy in future for directing questions.
Yeah, happy to. So as part of one of the findings of the organisational review last year was that the Guild in its current structure was considered to be quite a flat structure, where operational managers were also the strategic, had strategic responsibilities and such. So what was determined was to create a new executive level of management on which the GM general managers sit. We will have a general manager of student services that has strategic, administrative and directive responsibilities and control and support for managers in the areas of student assist, student engagement and student experience, which is clubs and events. And so each general manager will have both operational and strategic influence and input into the day-to-day operations and strategic of their specific areas, providing a level of focus, strategic focus and executive experience that was trying to be shared through the general manager role. So Moira, sitting to the left of me, represents that new level of management for the student experience. And as mentioned, there is a general manager of corporate service coming in to oversee IT, finance, HR, and governance and administration. The third level of general manager is in that commercial space. There will be a general manager of commercial. However, whilst we are deploying the commercial strategic plan, I'm acting in that role to establish and set up the foundation for that. Yeah, happy to take any questions around that. The layer of, sorry, I'll just end by saying the layer of management that existed and was reporting directly to the general manager still exists. And when the organisational restructure occurred, it was on the basis that those positions were allowed to retain their title, their remuneration package, and in perpetuity until they decided to move on. So that's what exists now.
Cool, thanks, Bernard. If there are no other comments, we will move to the motion, which is the Guild Council approves the reports moved by Nor. Can I get a seconder? Thank you, Tani. All those in favour? Great. All those against? That motion's carried. I would like to note that Emily Lesson left. I think I already said that. Never mind. I'll take it back. I already said it. We'll move to item 6, business on notice, safety report. We have a motion that the Guild Council notes the safety report moved by Nor. Can I get a seconder? Thanks, Vivi. So, Vivi and Nor, I assume you don't want to speak to us. Move to a seconder. No. Any questions, comments, or queries regarding the safety report? Ebony?
You don't have to be so disappointed every time, Dave.
I'm not disappointed. I'm very excited.
On the 20th of February, there was an incident in the courtyard with a staff member and a another individual. What sort of is the staff member okay? Like, what's happened with the staff member? Like, following up from that, because it's concerned. That's all.
Your concern. There's no report of there being any ongoing issue for the staff member. It was brief in its incident, but the staff member was reacting to what was happening, and we're looking further into it. At this stage, we can't confirm that the other person was a student member, and the latest information, which is really recently, just before this meeting, was that the indications are, whilst they didn't identify them, the safer community didn't recognise them, or the staff recognised them as a student. Yeah. But I don't have specifics on the employee.
Yeah. In terms of just the closed, is that the status of the investigation or something?
This closed meaning there's no planned activities beyond this other than to try to confirm who that person was.
Okay.
Yeah,
So even though
which
it's listed as closed, we're still following up about it and making sure it won't happen. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
The closed is that there's no ongoing safety risk to the person or.
Okay, cool. So there's no other further comments or queries. We'll move to a vote. So all those in favour? Those against? That motion's carried. Move to item 6.2, the finance report. We have a motion that the Guild notes the finance report moved by Nor. Can I get a seconder? Thanks, Ebony. And Ebony and Nor, would like to speak to as the mover seconder? No. Now any further comments or queries? Ebony?
Figure 1, graph 2026 monthly net sales comparison. I just wanted to ask why basement seems to be the outlier.
It's a very good question. And look, anecdotally, I go down there and it's as busy as it has usually. If I'm looking at data, Malacup is considerably higher. So I don't know whether they're sharing more of their client base given the proximity to each other. But there's nothing that we can put our finger on as to being. I think that the product, the service is at standard, if not better, and we're just as focused on it. So, yeah, it's a really good question, but I do see the data as saying that the aggregate trading down there is being more proportionately shared with Malacup and Basement. Maybe it's a cohort moving on that was strong supporters of Basement that haven't been replaced by the first year of the next cohort of that, whether it being the engineers or those that were readers. Yeah, yeah. Has impacted the economy of Basement.
Yeah,
perhaps. Yeah.
And I would like to just commend that net sales comparison. Every single one except for the outlier is above the budget.
Yeah.
So that is really great to see. Really positive signs there in the commercial space. If there's no other further comments, yep, Dylan, go for it.
Very left field because I haven't had the chance to discuss this with you yet, but the Treasurer yesterday came out and said that the war in Iran could wipe about $17.5 billion off the Australian economy over the next year. Things like fuel prices, that kind of stuff. I'm just wondering if we're seeing any impact at the moment, and then I guess just what the ordinary process would be, given that we're, I'd expect that the price of goods will be going up and that kind of stuff moving forward, unfortunately.
Absolutely. It's a really important thing to note because it will impact us. It'll impact everyone. So transport costs will go up, which means food costs will go up at a wholesale and retail level. Production of food, diesel used on farms and other. So it's going to impact us, and there's headwinds facing us, and that's why this whole commercial strategy about that long-term viability is not just about generating surpluses now. It's about having strong foundations to meet these types of headwinds, and so we will have to try to absorb as much, and those price increases will be felt by us this year. And hence having those strong margins and with respect to recognising, and it is a positive to recognise, as David set out, other than the outlier being the Basement, the income growth year on year and against budget. As I shared with the Finance and Audit Committee, what gives me more comfort than those net sales figures is the gross profit margin, because that is saying that we're able to meet the cost rises occurring and through our sales and pricing still retain enough to support the overhead costs. And that's going to be really important moving forward, because we are not a business that pivots week to week and adjusts prices based on the cost of our goods. We try to give certainty to students and our other patrons that if we say the price for the palmy, albeit that it's gone up, will be that, then that's what we were going to deliver it on, and everything else has to be absorbed. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on it. We'll manage it closely and find ways and try to find ways of efficiency that don't impact that margin, which then puts us backward and back into a fragile state in terms of long-term viability, because we've done so much to move forward.
Okay. We'll now move to a vote. So all those in favour of noting the finance report, great, that motion is carried. Now move to item 6.3, the Returning Officers Report 2025. We have a motion that the Guild Council notes the Returning Officers Report for the 2025 Annual General Election, moved by Noor, seconded by Dylan. Noor, Dylan, would you like to speak to it? I believe Dylan.
Yeah, this is part of our electoral process. It's a good opportunity for members to offer any thoughts or feedback, which will be used primarily by Vernon and the management side in conferring with the returning officer for this year. The things that I will note out of here is once again, despite me rattling the drum, last time the WAC made this report, they've once again, I think, overstepped the mark on recommending a banning of posters as campaign materials. To be honest, I am quite uncomfortable with an independent election governance body making recommendations on the basis of whether or not people see posters as an eyesore, but mainly on whether or not they say that it fits in with any electoral group's environmental policies. So I know it's a small thing, but I do think that the independent electoral governing body of our union's election, our guild's election, shouldn't be offering commentary on the policies of tickets. It's something I said last time, and I would ask that that gets conveyed this time. They're free to put recommendations forward. I think there's a number of ways they could approach a recommendation of this sort, but I'm just uncomfortable with sort of the independent umpire making sort of judgments on what our policies are. And I would hazard a guess that the reform ticket probably is very pro printing more things and would like to see them laminated and, shipped out to sea and dumped. So, I can offer those kind of things. I just don't think that it's accurate or in alignment or anything that the WAC should be saying. So I'll leave it at that. I don't care what your views are on posters. It's just like the offering commentary on the policy itself is an odd thing for a returning officer to do.
Yeah, and I would just like to say before I open it up that I am a little bit disappointed with the WAEC. There were several times where people that had reached out to vote were not provided with all of the ballots. They were not provided with the National Union of Students ballot. Obviously, I was on that ballot. And so they came up to me and said, are you actually running for anything? And I was like, yes. And they said, your name wasn't on there. And I said, did you receive this piece of paper? And they said, no. So I thought that was this was in the first day of polling, particularly in the South area. I noticed that was an issue that affected at least 5 students. So I thought that was pretty disappointing. I would expect a commission to be able to provide all of the necessary paperwork from the time that they open. Luckily, it didn't affect the outcome of the election. But I thought that was pretty disappointing on their end. I also agree with Dylan. If they're independent, they should stay independent. But yeah, other than that, Ebony, you had your hand up?
Yeah, yep. 2 things. One, there are an insane number of informal votes. There's like between 50 is the lowest for VPA, all the way up to 214 for queer officer. Like that is a lot of informal votes compared to the fact that total votes was 1,400. So I think that we need to try and figure out a way to stop that, because it basically means that students' votes aren't getting counted towards the end result. So I think we need to try and figure out a way to fix that, whether that's messaging from whoever. But that's one thing I noticed. And the other thing was that the results, especially for Guild Council elections, they came out way too late as well. Like they were weeks. I think it was like 5 weeks after.
Months, yeah. And of course, the camera continues to not work. All right, if I could just bring the meeting back to order. Order. Members on my left. Anyway, I will reopen the meeting at 7:06 p.m. We were in the middle of Ebony saying the other thing about the election that was other than the high rate of informal voting for particular elections.
Yes. The other thing was that the Guild Council election took way too long to count and to be published on the WAC website. So if that could be made faster this year round, I think many councillors would be appreciative of that.
We need to get our own Anthony Green, I reckon. That's what we need. We need an Anthony. We need an Anthony Green. Do you know Anthony? Don't know Anthony Green? Wow.
We've got one of those.
Anyway. Okay, we can bring this back to order. I'm going to lose it. All right. Okay. Did you want to say something, Morgan? Yes. Go for it, Morgan. You have the floor.
I did also want to note that it was either the Tuesday or the Wednesday they ran out of international committee president ballot sheets down south for several hours. And then I think they ran out for about 45 minutes. And then someone notified them when they couldn't vote for anyone. And then they went up and got maybe 50 from North and then brought them back down and then ran out again and then didn't notice for like another 90 minutes. And then eventually printed some more. But I think there were a lot throughout the entire week. There were a lot of inconsistencies in the fact that everything was up north and there was basically nothing down south. And it was a lot of going, and excuse me, it might be up there, but it's not down here sort of thing.
That's actually really disappointing. Like they've got one job that lasts 5 days or 4 days. 4 days. So come on, I really think that's actually really disappointing. Yeah, Dylan.
I think it comes to just sort of noting here, the International Student Committee President election had the lowest percentage of all of the votes cast, which I would imagine is probably linked to ballots running out. But it does sort of come to the accuracy of this report as a whole, that wasn't noted here either. In terms of the mechanics of the report, it goes into excruciating details around when notices were issued, all of that kind of stuff, what happened each day, how many votes were issued. It just seems like a very big omission from the report. I don't know what the general opinion of council is, but I don't know whether or not, as a report, it actually accurately reflects all of the things that it should do in the election. Whether or not I feel comfortable actually noting it formally as a result of that. But I'm open to people's views. I don't think it makes a huge material difference to anything, but the WAC has been coughing it a bit lately, but I'm happy to jump in.
Also like to note that in the table of contents, they misspelled behaviour and have a 2 between the I and the O. I think that sort of sums up what this report is. How can you focus so much on the recommendations and then not focus on those particular issues that are important to the running of the actual election? Yeah, Ebony, and then Morgan.
Do we need to use the WAC in regulations bylaws anywhere? And if not, are there other options for us to?
I am not 100% sure. If you 100%, Dylan's 100%.
The WAC is the default option. If the WAC is unwilling or we don't want to, it's generally it sits with the managing director, and then that needs to be approved by the vice chancellor if we're to use someone else. At the same time, I don't know whether or not I would advise that is the best path forward. I I don't know whether that would be an overreaction for what is relatively small. Yeah, like we don't need to. I think the pool of independent freelance returning officers is probably quite limited in WA as well. So,
Okay. Morgan, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a general overall comment on the fact that the report definitely seems to just outline the things that the students did wrong rather than the things that the WAEC did wrong, which in a general, based off this conversation, seems to very much outweigh what students did wrong based on their inability, I guess, to coordinate.
100%. Okay. Vernon.
Through you, Chair, one thing that I could throw into the mix for consideration to council is perhaps an annual report from council on the election that can be noted at council and provided to the WAEC for their noting is because I think I take your points and the notion that they haven't identified administrative shortcomings, whether they qualify what's been reported here as being their experience as well. That's yet to be determined. But it's unlikely that they're going to develop a report that provides that level of experience in terms of the election process. So perhaps there be another report tabled from a different perspective in the council or members.
Okay, I think that's, yeah, Ebony.
On that, I'd be happy to contributing to a report or document that gets sent to the WAC.
Okay, great. I think what we'll do now is we'll go to a vote. So all those in favour of noting the report? All those against? I believe that motion is voted down based on quick maths in my head. I believe it was 5 versus 2. I don't know whether we need a majority for it. I don't think so. I think it's just. Anyway. Yeah. It's just the number of votes. It's not 50%. It's not absolute majority.
it doesn't materially change.
Yeah. Anyway, so that motion is voted down. Okay. So we have. Yes. We'll now move to item 6.4, 2025 statements and audit. So we have a motion. The committee recommends that the Guild Council A notes the audit report and opinion, B authorises the President and Secretary to certify that, in the opinion of the Guild Council, I, the statement of profit or loss or other comprehensive income and statement of cash flows are drawn up so as to give a true and fair view of the performance of the Guild for the year ended 31st December 2025. I, the statement of financial position is drawn up so as to give a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the Guild as at 31st December 2025. 3, that the Guild has complied with the Australian accounting standards, reduced disclosure requirements, the Curtin University Act 1966, the Australian Charities Non-Profits Commission Act 2012, and the Associations Incorporated Act 2015 WA. And 4, at the date of this statement, there are reasonable grounds to believe that the Guild will be able to pay its debts as and when they fall due. C, recommends to the annual general meeting that adopt the audited financial statements of the Student Guild for the year ending 31st December 2025. And D, recommends to the University Council that denotes the audited financial statements of the Student Guild for the year ending 31st December 2025. Moved by Dylan, seconded by Noor. Noor or Dylan, would you like to speak to it?
Please approve. We need to sign these so they can go to the Guild's AGM and in our annual report. They are accurate. The Guild goes through a very thorough auditing process every year. And I think that these results showcase the Guild's strengthened financial position due to a number of things. But at the end of the day, it comes down to good management of the Guild. And I think that this is something that this councillors last year can be very proud to present and to vote on and to stand behind. And yeah, look, I'm really happy with the results of the audit. I'm happy with the results of our finances last year. I think it sets us up really strong going into the future and future headwinds that we need to face, which is what we discussed a little bit earlier. but allows us to offer more services to students and do the things that we want to be doing more of. So governance is really a question of resource allocation. So it's nice to have more resources to allocate. And that means that there is more things happening for students here at Curtin, which is fundamentally what we're here to do. So, yeah.
Okay, great. If there's no other comments or queries relating to these reports, we'll move to a vote. All those in favour? That motion carries. We now have a motion that the Guild Council approves the General Managers of the Curtin Student Guilders ex officio standing invitations to all meetings of the Guild Council, moved by Dylan, seconded by Noor. Dylan, would you like to speak to it, Ms. Mover?
Yeah, so I mean, we've sort of outlined this question. This will be a standing resolution of council. To codify this would be a change to the statute, which would need to go to University Council as their non-voting members. It's fine. Essentially what we're voting as council is to permanently allow them to attend, and we're making a governance decision to send them the agenda pack, which just means they're able to participate in the meetings. This is appropriate in a number of different boards and settings. There is that level of management present, and it just allows a more full discussion and hopefully less questions taken on notice.
100%. I think that's pretty fair. You don't in a large company, you're not just going to see the CEO present. You're going to see the COO, the CFO, other those people. That's what these general managers sort of exist to sort of be, that second level. So I think it's pretty fair. Any other comments or queries regarding it? If not, we'll move to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That motion is carried. We'll now go to item 7, which is minutes of committees reporting to Guild Council. So there are 4 there, 1 from Rep Board, 2 from Exec Committee, and 1 from Finance and Risk. We have a motion that the Guild Council approves the minutes of the committees reporting to the Guild Council, moved by Noor, seconded by Dylan. Noor, Dylan, would you like to speak to that motion as mover or second? No. Any other further comments, queries relating to the minutes? No. All those in favour? That motion's carried. Now we've got item 8, general business. 8.1, ideas and suggestions. Any ideas or suggestions? Item 8.2, general other business. Any other business? We'll now move to item 9, the meeting evaluation. Finn, I believe you've conducted the meeting evaluation. I would love to hear your evaluation of this meeting as per the document that you have in your hands.
My evaluation has been swift, but also very lengthy. So it's got a lot of consistent support from the union-aligned protest movements, and just going to keep listing these down as we go. Housing campaigners addressing student accommodation needs and shortcomings that students have complained about previously. Provisions for Curtin students regarding Curtin Link have increased substantially, but concerns from Curtin Link staff have so far gone unnoticed. We've also got the appreciation for finance and risk questioning has continued, as has the honesty of the guild reps and staff, which I really appreciate. You guys have been doing a good job in giving us answers. And the HIV testing instalment is also strongly aligned with guild values. I'd like to give a nice commendation to that. Now, we've also got a lot of compliance with guild procedure, and it's been pretty steady, guys. Good job. For the committee papers providing the right information, we've got agenda and supporting reports were provided on time. I loved it. Information not affected by scheduling was provided with ample time. Appreciate that. Pretty standard. Strengths of the meeting, we've got HIV testing installment. I wanted to say that was a large win. Just wanted to reiterate that. We've also got make renting fair movement. Support within the committee is a strong move in support of students. And we've got food pantry efforts also proven very effective. Suggestions for improvement. All I had to say was the revisions to the agenda were provided slightly late. I think a few people missed those, just the last minute revisions. As for the values and the values moments, we got repeated interest in Curtin student careers and events specifically pertaining to student career assistance. Really appreciated that. Events carried out in the period reported on by the agenda were all inclusive and did not unfairly disadvantage any one specific minority group. Openness and honesty surrounding student safety and financial security was very present, mostly regarding transport, student services and amenities, as well as the incident in the courtyard, which we discussed. The guild rep interest in the concerns of students on student housing. after students have come forward to address it specifically, is very telling that the Guild Rep team is in strong support of Curtin students. And that's all I have to say about that.
That's great. Thank you, Finn. And the next ordinary meeting of the Guild Council will be held on the 23rd of April, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers 101, 301, 305. And I will close the meeting at 7:20 p.m.